My husband hates our open marriage now that I'm enjoying it. I, 35 female, am in an open relationship with my husband, 36 male. It was over the summer he mentioned it to me. I wouldn't say I was totally for it, but it took some getting used to. Now everything is going great, but recently my husband keeps changing the rules. By the way, this comes from Princess Protect, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, once I started dating Evan, 45 male, that's when he started acting differently. My husband and I agreed on a don't ask, don't tell policy, but keeps pestering me about the details of our relationship. I give him a little here and there, but never the explicit stuff. Everything positive I mention about Evan, he downplays or critiques. Last week, I planned a date with Evan and asked him to watch the kids. He agreed. He was to get back home by 9, but texted me to say he's doing overtime that night. I was left scrambling for a sitter at the last minute. This isn't the first time he has done this. Luckily, this time I got a hold of a sitter, but I could not stay as long as I was hoping for. Afterward, he acted as if everything was okay. He began policing me when I left the house and began picking my outfits apart, expressing concern about how the neighbors would perceive me. To avoid conflict, I started wearing jackets to cover up before heading out. Then came the issue of Evan dropping me off. He worried about the neighbors seeing a strange car pull up at night. This forced me to do lunch dates. It wasn't a bother. I would bring my laptop to Evan's and work at his place. However, I preferred the dinner dates because I got a chance to dress up more. Changing up the time seemed to alleviate some tension, but I still feel like I was compromising too much. He didn't even want me to drive to the dates, but when Evan pays for an Uber or drops me off, it's an issue? It makes no sense. The breaking point was when Evan sent flowers to the house. My husband lost it, claiming it's dangerous for a strange man to know our address when we have kids inside. I will say he was right about this. I did drop the ball, however. He insisted that I shouldn't bring home any gifts at all going forward, arguing it violated our don't ask, don't tell rule. He used to joke about me not getting chivalry in my open relationship, and now that I'm getting dates, it's a big deal? I asked him if he doesn't take the women he sleeps with on dates, and he says no, it's strictly spicy sleep and none of that lovey-dovey BS that I'm doing. I confronted my husband about these rules and he just brushed it off like it was nothing, saying it's just a respect thing. I was really enjoying this, but he's sucking the fun out of it and it just feels highly stressful. My wee chicken says your husband wanted to have a wife and to still sleep with whoever he liked. He didn't want that for you. Come on now, surely you realize that. To me, it seems like husband wanted NSA, spicy sleep with people other than his wife without any of the emotions that come with either an additional girlfriend or hurting his wife. However, wife found someone who also respects and appreciates her and isn't using her like a whole, like how husband is doing his part of the open relationship. So I think this is extra incensing for him. He's emotionally removing himself just to get extra kitty. She found someone who will put up with the weird rules and treat her well. It's not just the spicy sleep, it's that she's getting treated well. My witchkin says, yeah, not everyone can enjoy spicy sleep with random one-night strangers. Clearly that's not her bag and he should have known that. Or maybe he did, and that's why he thought it would all fall into place nicely for him. Maybe he thought he could have it all while she was at home not sleeping with anyone else. Dapper Danimal says, not the a-hole. Question. Does your husband actually hook up with other women? Reading between the lines, I wouldn't be surprised if things weren't working out for him. If this is going to work, you can't just agree, don't ask, don't tell, and call it a day. Rules have to be in place. If you only want spicy related relationships outside of the marriage without emotional intimacy, that's a fine rule, if you agree to it. It's also fine to change the rules after they've been established, but that should be based on a conversation where everyone is on the same page. He shouldn't be able to change or establish the rules on his own and get mad that you haven't been following them. OP says, I think he does. He dresses up on the weekend to go out and comes in late. We both agree to emotional intimacy, ONS, casual. It's just the nitpicking that's too much. I don't mind having a discussion, but when I'm met with, it's not that serious, that's when I get pissed. Corpscular Ocelot says, you need to see this for what it is. He opened the marriage without understanding that it meant you would be going on dates too. He never wanted the rules to be fair, so starting from the premise is only gonna get him subverting any discussions. He just thought about all the fun he would be having. Now he's treating you like crap because he can't stand that what is good for the gander is good for the goose. You need to bottom line it for him. Open marriages are not easy to maintain. Most couples can't handle it. The only way to handle it is to set clear rules and follow them. One thing I will say is that your partner needs to be your primary. So if both of you are putting all your efforts into getting laid outside of the relationship, you'll trash the marriage. You need regular date nights and check-ins, etc. It also takes a lot of trust and respect for your partner. In other words, you need to put in work into your marriage to make it work, open or closed. There's plenty of literature out there on how to make this work if you really want it to, but it is work. Opening a marriage isn't a quick release valve to save a marriage for people who aren't good and communicating and take their spouse for granted. You guys were right. This was a crap show. I'm not sure where to start, but we are getting a divorce. He in fact did not change and became way more possessive and controlling while changing the rules. Everything I did was either wrong or inconsiderate. Evan had planned a weekend trip to Cabo to celebrate a new business venture. I asked my husband if he was okay with it weeks in advance. He enthusiastically agreed, mentioning, "I deserve the trip." He even told me to make sure I flood his phone with pics. I told him I was going to stay with Evan the night before for easier commute. He insisted on taking me to the airport instead, since it was our last night until Tuesday. However, when it was time to leave, he overslept. Despite urging him to get up to the point that I pulled the covers off and turned off the air, he spent an hour in the bathroom. Then to make matters worse, he didn't fill the tank. I told him the evening before. I called an Uber, which was another hour late, but luckily I got to enjoy my trip. I let it slide and moved on. Boy, oh boy, I wish I never went on that trip because things got worse. It's like I was being punished for the trip. He became incredibly invasive in my personal relationships. He wanted to know what my spicy sleep life with Evan was like, if he was better, etc. He used to play it off like it wasn't a big deal to him. Then I caught him snooping through my phone. It was too much. I didn't understand because Evan was no longer the only man I was seeing. But Evan triggered him the most. If that wasn't enough, he had his friends over for boys' night. I was getting ready for girls' night. Before I left, he said out loud, "You're really gonna leave me to go F him?" in front of his friends. The embarrassment and humiliation I felt even typing this. I just sat in my car and cried so much, and that's when I knew it was done. He apologized, mentioned he was wasted. I don't buy it one bit. He has never acted like this. This open relationship has left me drained mentally and emotionally, and it wasn't even my idea to begin with. I have filed for divorce, but he keeps begging for reconciliation, but I can't. Before anyone comments, I know you told me so. A can this it a both 8524 says he didn't want an open marriage. He wanted your permission to sleep with others while you were not allowed the same. Not the a-hole then or now. Enjoy yourself. Christine MFM 84 says this, not the a-hole. OP, if he ever says anything in front of people again, call him out and say he was the one who wanted the open relationship. Your husband wanted to sleep around and didn't realize you'd be having fun too. A can this it a both says, I also wonder if it's not working out for him as much as he hoped it would. Christine MFM says, yeah, he probably slept with whoever he wanted to sleep with, and it wasn't as great as he thought, and he isn't getting as many girls as he thought he would. Boo Boo says, isn't that how these stories usually go? Husband demands open marriage so he can screw around, discovers that he's not that attractive, and women aren't lining up to be with them while their wives are picking up guys right and left. Then demands their wives stop meeting others, and the wives, meanwhile, have found there are much better men out there than the a-holes they married and file for divorce. But that is the end of that story.